Good afternoon, Dolphins fans. Jacob here, Miami Dolphins Syndicate. It is week one. It is Jags, Dolphins preview for the first time this season. Let's get right into it. The Miami Dolphins starting the season back at home. Last year were on the road, took down the Los Angeles Chargers 36-34. Back at home for the 12th ever matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars lead the all-time series 6-5. Last time these two teams matched up was back in the 2021 season. We've already seen Trevor Lawrence and Tua face off in the NFL, but we haven't seen it in America. That game was over in England, and if you recall, Miami Dolphins went into there and lost the Jags on a last-minute field goal from Matthew Wright to win the game for the Jaguars. Both teams left London with one win on the season. Tua had a really good game overall for the quarterbacks. Tua was 33 of 44, 329 yards, 2 touchdowns, a really ugly interception. His leading receiver on the day was Mike Gesicki. His leading rusher on the day was Malcolm Brown. No Dolphin had more than 20 yards on the ground. It's a completely different running back group for the Miami Dolphins that they'll be going out there with on Sunday compared to what we last saw last time these two teams faced off. Trevor Lawrence was just as good, 25 of 41, got in the end zone, also above 300 yards as the Jacksonville Jaguars took that one over in London. Both teams are dealing with some injuries, except the Miami Dolphins are significantly worse off when it comes to injuries than the Jacksonville Jaguars. Pull that up on your screen right now. The Dolphins, as of now, only have one guy that is listed as out. That is Malik Washington, dealing with a quadricep injury, officially listed as of out as of today. A pretty good report when it comes to just status for the game, as the only other questionable player is Jalen Ramsey, as he is still dealing with his hamstring injury. He has not practiced much at all this week. Got a little bit of action today, but he's listed as questionable. You look up and down that list, there's a lot of guys on there, a lot of important players on there for the Dolphins. However, the rest of those guys on the list should be good to go. Very interested to see the snap count for Jaelan Phillips. How long can he go out there, obviously coming off of his torn Achilles? And then we look down on the bottom for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and really only one injury of note that could end up resulting in the player to miss the game. That is Daniel Thomas, the safety, with an Achilles injury that he's dealing with. So issues in the secondary for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Arik Armstead was also listed on the injury report earlier this week, but he should be all good to go, as that was just standard vet rest. So who are the Jacksonville Jaguars? What do they do well? First, we're going to look at their offense, and the main man is, of course, Trevor Lawrence, now coming into his 4th season into the NFL. Both T-Law and Tua got their massive extensions, so we'll both see them in Florida for a very long time, and he was looking to maybe find a little bit of a bounce back year. Didn't necessarily play bad last year, did Trevor Lawrence. However, we did not see that next step in the game. Got the second year in the Doug Peterson system, and it was his worst season since his rookie year, all the way back in 2021. The yards went down, the completion percentage went down, the quarterback rating went down, the touchdowns to interception ratio went down, just a whole bunch of statistical categories that Trevor Lawrence was not as good at last year. They definitely look to set up the passing game with the rushing attack, and Travis Etienne is the shoehorn for that. Typically, Doug Peterson likes to run a running back system that is by committee. That's what we saw his entire time with the Philadelphia Eagles, and that was what was successful for him, trying to and eventually getting a Super Bowl with the Eagles. However, he hasn't been able to find that number 2, number 3 for the Jaguars, so he's just been hammering with Travis Etienne last year. Over 1,500 or around 1,500 all scrimmage yards. 12 times he got into the end zone. You look at the passing attack, and part of Trevor Lawrence's struggles were from a lack of chemistry. Just they never got together, himself and Calvin Ridley. Obviously very talented quarterback, obviously very talented wide receiver, but just something wasn't right with Trevor Lawrence and his ex-receiver in Ridley, and now Ridley moves over to Tennessee, and there's a lot of new pieces moving into this Jacksonville Jaguars receiving game. Notably, Gabe Davis coming over from the Buffalo Bills. He'll likely be the number 2 option in the offense behind Christian Kirk, who had injury issues of his own last year. He comes back and is supposedly fully healthy, ready to go. However, he did have a questionable status leading up until the first injury report, but never actually made it onto the injury report. So we'll see how he is. But we know the chemistry in the passing offense is there between T-Law, Christian Kirk. They found good success last year, as well as Evan Ingram, but you bring in Gabe Davis from the Buffalo Bills, you bring in number 1 pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars in the draft this year in Brian Thomas Jr., so some new components to this Jacksonville Jaguars offense, an extra weapon to add for Trevor Lawrence, and I'm really looking to see what these new pieces look like working with T-Law here in his 4th year, and these guys in their 1st year into this system. And then you look at the defense, and the strength of the Jacksonville Jaguars defense is certainly their front 7. You look at some of these guys like Josh Hines Allen, which is going to be interesting to try to remind yourself that he did change his name from Josh Allen to Josh Hines Allen. So if you see that on the screen, same guy as Josh Allen that we know of from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Arik Armstead coming over from the Indianapolis Colts. Foyesade Oluokun, Travon Walker now in another year in the NFL. Some real strength up there, some real brute that you can find on the line, a 4-3 defense from this Jacksonville Jaguars. But there are for sure deficiencies within the secondary. You look at their starting corners of Tyson Campbell and Ronald Darby, certainly not the best in the league, and they are dealing with some injuries at that position, like I mentioned, with their safety Daniel Thomas. Andrew Wingard is starting the season on IR. Tayshaun Gibson Sr., their third-string safety, is suspended, so missing 2 safeties, maybe even 3 safeties for this game is going to be an area that Miami Dolphins can attack. And as for the Dolphins, this is year number 3 for Mike McDaniel, year number 5 for Tua in the NFL. What is it going to look like? We didn't get to see a lot of Tua in preseason. Came out for 1 drive against the Atlanta Falcons, went 5 for 5, scored a touchdown. River Craycraft obviously getting hurt in the back of the end zone, and Tua is going to be a little shallow when it comes to his options in the receiver room. Injuries that are going to be off the field and injuries on the field itself, as Tyreek Hill has been hurt throughout camp. Jalen Waddle is going to play. However, there is issues of potential re-injury concern for Jalen Waddle. Braxton Berrios is the healthiest of the Miami Dolphins wide receivers. Obviously expect Eric Ezukanma to be elevated from the practice squad. Malik Washington is out. Odell Beckham Jr. is out. Pretty much all of the Miami Dolphins wide receivers have some sort of question marks, whether it is ability or injury. We're going to get to see guys for the first time in a real meaningful game like Jonnu Smith, a tight end coming in. This team desperately needed a tight end that can actually contribute and bring more to the offense than what Durham Smythe did. Smythe has a role. He excels at that role. Great blocking tight end. He's probably going to catch 15 to 20 catches on the season, but Jonnu Smith is a tight end that the Miami Dolphins can actually design routes for in bigger hosts with bigger potential, and we saw that on display in the preseason game against the Falcons, where he took an end around, got a dump off, had, I think, 1 or 2 other catches, looked really sharp in his first appearance. Jalen Ramsey is likely going to come down to a true game time decision, and especially with a Thursday night game looming right around the corner against the Buffalo Bills, you might see the Dolphins play a little bit more safe with Jalen Ramsey. If I was to just guess right now, I'd probably say Ramsey does not play and they hold him out in the anticipation of that bigger game coming up on Thursday. But even if he does play, regardless of whether he's out there or not, I do expect a bigger role for guys like Ethan Bonner. I expect Nick Needham to be called up from the practice squad. Another injury that I already talked about a little bit, Jalen Phillips playing the edge position. I didn't expect him to be able to suit up for this game at all. If you would have told me 3 months ago that Phillips was going to play in the first game, not just the first game, but the first, second, or even third games, I would have been very surprised. So the fact that he's out there suited up in general, for one, screams of how incredible of a talent and how incredible of an athlete Jalen Phillips is. But the Miami Dolphins certainly need to be careful of their usage with him. Don't want to push him too far in the beginning of the season and not let him really catch up to speed and potential re-injury issue. Also, we know so often when one side of the body is injured, you compensate on the other side. So you got one side, you got your Achilles injury. Sometimes you favor that other one, and that's when another injury can pop up. So I do expect Jalen Phillips to be on a snap count, but as far as we're aware, he will be out there on Sunday. Because of the injuries at the wide receiver position, I expect a lot more use out of the tight end position, not just Jonnu Smith, not just obviously Durham Smythe coming back, but guys like Tanner Conner and Julian Hill, not names that are sexy, not names that you're going to be stashing in your fantasy team anytime soon, but it's just about guys available on the team in the receiver group. If there is an area to attack this Jacksonville Jaguars defense, it certainly is their secondary, and I do expect the Miami Dolphins, even with a rushing attack, to continue what they did last year and really look to take advantage of the outside run. Dolphins never really last year really cemented a true inside attack, but against this Jaguars defense where most of the strength is in the front seven, I do expect them to take advantage of skill set like Devon Achane and what he can do, and just provide so much to this team, whether it is quick screens out to the outside, whether it's getting him in motion when he touches the ball for the first time, whatever it may be. I do expect the running back group and the tight ends group to have a pretty big impact on this game. So yeah, the 12th ever meeting between the Jags and the Dolphins coming up here at home. This is week 1. You want to open up the season strong, and especially when you got a quick turnaround for the Buffalo Bills. You want to get this win, keep everybody healthy, and move on into the season. You got the Jags that have a lot of new moving pieces in their offense. It's another year with Doug Peterson. The Miami Dolphins, another year with Mike McDaniel. Tua got extended. Trevor Lawrence got extended. The narratives that I talked on this channel a couple of days ago, just the battle between Tua and Trevor Lawrence. I think Tua has certainly had a better career up to this point, but Trevor Lawrence has the higher ceiling, and he's a better athlete, bigger arm, more mobile, more athletic. All these things that we've seen from Trevor Lawrence that he did in college still haven't quite materialized. So what is he going to look like coming out there? There's a lot of question marks for both teams because you think you have an understanding of how your team is going to look until you actually go out there and play week 1. I'm excited to see it unfold. I will not be at the stadium. Donovan will be at the stadium. Before we go, like we do for all of our score prediction, or sorry, just gave it away a little bit there, like we do for all of our previews, to hit you guys with a score prediction. Miami Dolphins, a lot of injuries. Really good Jacksonville Jaguars team that disappointed last year. 8-3 start, missed the playoffs. I do have the Miami Dolphins taking this one. I'm going to give the Miami Dolphins 27, Jaguars 21. Let us know your score predictions down below, as well as what will you be doing during the game, where you'll be watching from. Let us know down below. While down there, hit that sub button, hit that like button. Appreciate y'all very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Go Dolphins.